Yeah, welcome to Zebra Rovers' final and only video of the season. This is basically going to cover a couple of bases. I've had to do this video a couple of times because circumstances have recently changed. I don't mean the death of the Queen, which is obviously what it is, but I mean circumstances within our game, the EFA. Excuse the background noise. I'm in my kitchen. It's the only place I can get the video done, so you can hear the washing machine. But just don't worry about that. This is going to be my end of season video, and it's also going to be my Champions Gold Cup celebratory video because obviously we won that, like we knew we would. But first, let me start with congratulating FC Alchemy on winning the league. Very consistent throughout the season. Did what they had to do. Mbappe was on fire most of the season, and they thoroughly deserved to win the league. I think this is their second league title, so congratulations to them. And then also let me extend my congratulations to Falcon Arrows winning the EFA Cup. They're the first Guzum side to ever win a major trophy. So that is something that they're probably going to have for a very long time. And because they're now in the top league, but then also they dominated it. They beat us pretty convincingly in the semi. I feel like we navigated that wrong. We probably could have navigated that tournament a little bit better, but we got a bit lazy. But swings and roundabouts. They deserved it. The scorelines tell the truth, really. And congratulations to them on that. So now on to proceedings, and I would say to everyone, please watch to the end because I've got a lot to say. It might take a little bit of time. I'm going to be as fast as possible. But the season outside of the league and the EFA Cup, we have the Champions Gold Cup, which I won. And I needed to win it because going into the last 2 weeks of the season, I was up for the treble. I was in for all three cups. And the league kind of wasn't out of our hands. We needed a victory against Alchemy, which we didn't get, and then we needed a victory on the last day of the season. That would have won us the title, but it wasn't to be. And then the EFA Cup, we got routed by Falcon Arrows. So the Gold Cup was our only chance to win, and we left no stone unturned to make sure we were going to win it. The potential dangerous game was the one against Alchemy in the semi-final. We were pretty sure we were going to face Inter in the final, but we didn't really have too many fears about that one. It was mainly the Alchemy game, which we knew the mentality of a side called Alchemy, the side like Alchemy. They're going to make it difficult for you. Now, let me add this caveat. In my whole time in the EFA, and I've been in it for probably the longest, other than FC Alchemy. In my whole time in the EFA, there are only three teams, right? Three teams that I know that I can prepare. Leave no stone unturned, get everything perfect in my preparation, in my tactics, and still I will go into the match nervous. Still I go into the match knowing that the variables of the other team are going to mean that even if I play the perfect game and get my tactics right, I still might not win. And that's because of the level of those teams. And those three teams are Alchemy, of course, Stoic City, and Genesis when they were there. They're the only three teams that I've ever gone onto the pitch feeling great, feeling in full fighting strength, and also with everything at my disposal that I needed, and knowing that if I do not play the absolute perfect game, we there's a potential we won't win this match. And that's because of the level of those guys. There's nobody else in this league that's been in this league or that is in this league that we've had that issue with. I know that every other team, other than the three I mentioned, if I go onto the pitch with all my tactics in shape and just everything right, I don't actually need to play the perfect game. I'll more than likely beat that side. Which leads me on to my game against Inter. Now you will see from the thumbnail of this video, Inter obviously thought shit was sweet. They thought shit was sweet. They thought they were coming here to just win the EFA Gold Cup, a tournament that I will remind you is the marquee tournament of the PET, or the EFA, forgive me. A tournament that I will remind you has only been won by the three greatest teams in the EFA, Stoic City, FC Alchemy, and myself, Zebra Rovers. And may I add, we've won it more times than any other team in history. 3 times. We've been in the final more times than any other team in history. 4 times. The tournament has only happened 7 times. So for the vast majority of this tournament, the final has been a Zebra Rovers team in there in some way, shape or form. And then the Zebra Rovers team has won it more times than any other team. But then on top of that, the only teams who have ever won it, Stoic City twice, FC Alchemy twice, Zebra Rovers 3 times. This is the marquee tournament, which means it's a 2-legged affair, a 2-legged knockout affair. There is no lying in this tournament, which means that the winner at the end is the deserving winner. There can be no argument. It's a lot like, you know, you play for an hour or so and the last goal wins and everyone goes hard right to the last minute. But look, I say that because I want to make it clear. At no point, once I got past FC Alchemy, at no point was I worried about this game. And you could look at that as arrogant, but I look at that as just looking at the history and the facts. Now, a lot of you people in the league have short memories. And you remix history and you get these ideas in your head. And then you seem to think you know what's going on. Now, someone like me, I'm an old stager. I've been about. I'm not an idiot. I see variables. I see shades of grey. I don't just see what's happening and take that as law, where some of you do. Now, I know a lot of people assumed they saw Zebra against Inter. People assume Inter win because in recent history, Inter have done really well. They won the league last year. They won the EFA Cup last year. But there's shades of grey to that. And I told Inter that at the end of the EFA Cup. Now, I'm going to make a few things clear. They were never going to beat me in this final. They just never were. It was going to be so hard for them. And everything I saw leading up to the finals, they thought shit was sweet. I watched their game against CT, and I said, if that's the team that's going to come and play me in the final, there's no way they're going to win. You know? But they obviously thought, as you can see from the thumbnail, they thought they were just going to win. They didn't care about the league because they're going to win the Champions Gold Cup anyway. Sorely mistaken. Then after the game, I'm hearing excuses. I was drunk. I went to the pub. Why were you drunk? Why did you go to the pub? Because you thought it was sweet. It was never going to be sweet. Why did you even think that you could approach a game with me like that? Now imagine I say I'm going to go on box. I'm going to go on box with prime Lennox Lewis. Imagine I said that, and I said I'm not worried. I'm going to go and beat up Lennox Lewis and earn millions of pounds because I'm going to beat him. You would think you're mad. How do you think you're going to beat Lennox Lewis? And you would be right to think that because Lennox Lewis is a world champion who's banged out people. Me, I've never done nothing like that. So why would I have the right to say I'm just going to go and wipe the floor with Lennox Lewis? Now, you might say, how can you compare into saying he's just going to beat you in the final to that? I can. Because, let me give you this stat. And bearing in mind, you don't need to take my word for it. You can go on the YouTube and watch all the games and all the videos. The evidence is there. Inter Yanan, in the whole time we have played this edition of PES, every time I physically played Inter Yanan, i.e. both me and him being on the pad, not CPU, me and him just playing, the boy has beaten me once. That was a fly there. Got it. First shot. It's pretty good. The boy's beaten me once. The whole time of this edition of PES. Remember, we've been playing this edition of PES since 2020. 2020, 2021. Every time we played, physically, that boy has beaten me once. How about that? First time we played, I think I beat him 4-0. Second time we played, I think I beat him 3-1. Yeah. Third time we played, we drew 2-2. Fourth time he played, he won 2-1 in the EFA Cup final. That's the one time he's won. And then this time we played in the EFA Cup final, I beat him 4-0. So you tell me this, how can this boy expect he's coming to play me when every time we've played, I've scored pretty much 3 or more goals against him? Every single time, barring two occasions. And on those 2 occasions, one was a 2-2 draw, in which I scored an own goal. And my circumstances were atrocious playing that game. And the other time, the actual one time he won, I was playing at FC Alchemy's house on his joypad with the wrong buttons. I'd come straight from work, having to play straight away. cold on someone else's system without my formation, without my buttons, and he won in injury time, a 90th minute goal. But when the circumstances were everything equal, I'm in my own spot, he's in his own spot, we're playing, I banged him. And not just beat him, I banged him. So how can he come thinking he's just going to come and win this thing? He's never done that to me. He's never just come and steamrolled me. And if you think he has, I challenge everyone to go to the bloody YouTube and try and find them when he steamrolled me. In the league, when he did beat me in the league last year, I wasn't playing. My dad was on his deathbed, so I had to cancel the game, and he played the CPU, and he beat the CPU. That's the time he beat me in the league. So it's a bit of a disgrace. And then people like that, they bring out excuses saying they were drunk. Listen, when this boy beat me in the EFA Cup final, the circumstances were terrible for me. Like, he did not play me in that EFA Cup final. Because granted, if he did play me in that EFA Cup final, he wouldn't have won it. But it happened. And after the final, I gave him his dues. And I said to him, next time we play, it won't be the same. Because I knew in my head what would happen, but I didn't want to throw out excuses, but I knew. So I just said, next time we play, it won't be the same, because I'll make sure I'm not playing in FC Alchemy's house. I'll make sure I've got the buttons correct on my pad, and I'll make sure that I have a bit of time to prepare, so I'm not coming straight after work, going across London, from North to South London to play a game. And that next time was the EFA Cup final. And that next time was 4-0. Now let me tell you this. The reason why I started saying there are only 3 clubs that I still, even if I get all my tactics right and get everything right, I still enter the pitch knowing that there's no guarantee of winning. The reason why I say that for FC Alchemy, Stoic City when they were here, and Genesis when they were here, is because those were high-level teams. For instance, the semi-final, the EFA Cup, Gold Cup semi-final I did against Alchemy was a lot harder than the final against Inter. And I knew it would be. I was praying I got Inter in the semi, so I could just wipe the floor with him and then get to the final at least. But I drew the short straw. Most people would have thought it was the other way around, but I knew it. And the proof is in the pudding. When I scored against Alchemy in the first game, I wasn't at the right level of intensity. And a team like that, if you're not at the right level of intensity, they can ride the scripting, and Alchemy did that. He scored straight back 1-1, which is why in the second game, I didn't play particularly well, but I made sure my level of intensity was very high. But you have to be very careful against Alchemy. You can't do certain tactics too rigidly because of the way he plays, and he likes to slow the game down. So you have to be quite formless and free and be able to speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down. You can't play at the same pace all the time with FC Alchemy, otherwise you're in trouble. The way you play at Alchemy is you've got to start very fast, get your goals early, and then tighten up, because they're not a team to be played with in any way, shape or form. What you don't want to do with them is be at 0-0 going into the latter stages of the game. Whereas a team like Inter, it's very simple. And you can go and watch all my games that I've banged them in. The 4-0, we banged them in. 3-1, we banged them in. It was 3-1, but it was more than the 3-1 really. And in this final, same tactics. Very, very narrow defence. Narrow, because all he wants to do is play slow with his midfielders. If he can't do that, he goes down the wing. So narrow defence, centre-backs with great jump, very physical, just to make sure if he's got Haaland or Lukaku, he can at least get ahead of them, right? Because when he runs out of ideas, all he does is runs as far down the wing as he can. When he runs out of his passing ideas. So if you play narrow, can't go through the middle and score the goals like he did against CT. And then once you get the ball back, trigger counter, simple. That's what we did to him every single time. And he's never set up correctly to stop the trigger counter. He's never figures that. And also he plays a double pivot, which on pairs, the double pivot is suicide just because the programming makes a double pivot, expose your defence. Whereas you play an anchor man like Casemiro, no point going through the middle. Now everyone's screaming, oh, but he won the title last year and he didn't get defeated. Yeah, that was a joke, man. That was a joke. You know, he beat me on a day my dad was dying. My dad left this earth probably a week after that game, but he was on his deathbed, so I had to go and visit him and be at my dad's side. And that's the day and then any other team would have said, you know what, let's postpone the match, let's play it at another time. But this guy went and played and he beat the computer 2-1. And remember, I came second in the league. That game was one of the games that effectively lost me the league and won him the title. So he went undefeated. City beat him. Then he cried for a replay, and then won the replay. You know, it's in the rules. It's fair enough. I don't really subscribe to that sort of stuff. You know, I think it happened a few times where he did that. So I don't really rate how he won. I thought the league last year was a bit of a joke, to be honest. And then I thought, like, he wasn't as good as people were making him out to be. And in fact, when we were playing in the EFA Cup final, I was nowhere near my best because I didn't have my buttons. I couldn't even string a pass together. And that game still went to injury time. I was winning, in fact, for the majority of the game, 1-0. But anyway, it is what it is. You know, people make excuses. They'll probably leave the league now because, you know, some people can't take losing. And then they start, you know, saying, I got a girlfriend and I got to do this and I got to do that. Yeah, I hear it all. But the fact is, we did say to them it wasn't going to be the same. And it wasn't the same. And we ended up winning. We ended up winning 4-0. We ended up winning healthily, you know. And he can make all the excuses in the world he wants. But the truth is, you thought it was sweet. That's your fault, mate. Like, you got to own it. That's your fault. Going telling teams you were drunk. Then why are you coming playing a team that's banged you out more times than you've even beaten them? Never put more than. Never had us, like, he's only ever beaten me by 1 goal in his whole time. If he's ever beaten me, it's only ever been by 1 goal. Whereas we've put, literally, I can find at least 3 games where we've put 3 or more goals past them. But then you think you're coming to just bang us. You think you can get drunk before. Get out of here, man. That's a lot of disrespect. And a lot of people in the PEP, or in the EFA, I should say, need to learn. This is not it's not a joke when you play certain teams, you know. And EFA Inter made it personal. Inter made it personal by, you know, the way they won last year and the manner in which they think they won. Even though, you know, sometimes I win and I can see that circumstances were really aligned for me because I understand my surroundings. Whereas, you know, they don't, every time you beat them, they're just like, oh, I don't know what happened. No, you got beaten, motherfucker. That's what happened. You got beaten. You got smashed. We played a gegenpress on you. Simple. We narrowed our defence. You couldn't move anywhere. You know, the minute you pass to your defender, my striker's on you. The way Neymar scored that last goal is because of our tactics. You know, the whole setup was wrong. The way you approached the game was wrong. And I saw it from the CT game, drunk or not. When I watched the CT game, I said, this boy's not beating us. You know, I lied to them. I told them that, oh, we're not ready for the game and stuff and this, that and the other, and you smash CT and all. Yeah, but I watched that CT game. I knew they weren't coming to beat us. Because you can't play that way against the top teams. I'll be honest, if they went and played Alchemy that way, Alchemy might have beaten them. Probably would have smashed them. Do you know what I mean? The Alchemy game was way tougher. I had to do way more thinking in the Alchemy game, tactically. Even when we were 2-0 up in the second leg, you could still feel the way they move and the way they were playing. They were trying to open me and pick me apart. This guy was just going through the motions, like he always does. All his games are the same, you know. Even in our 2-2 draw, like, the way he played was so predictable. Like, the own goal we scored because he did a terrible pass over the top that was going nowhere. We just decided to nod it back to our keeper, who wasn't in the goal, so we scored an own goal. Like, so predictable, you know. One thing I'll give into is that he's generally got good game management when he goes ahead. But other than that, the guy's predictable and he's easy to play against, and I've proven that. So I always find it offensive when people think they're coming to just do stuff, or when other teams think they're coming to beat us, when history tells that we are the team on top of them. Like, it's just standard. Head to head, tell the truth. It just is what it is. We are the champions. We've got the EFA Gold Cup. And you just got to respect it. So peace out to everyone in the league. Put respect on people's name. Respect on FC Alchemy's name for winning the league. Respect on Falcon Arrows for that brilliant performance in the EFA Cup. And put respect on our name for being the biggest winner in history of the marquee trophy in the EFA. Because the shit ain't a joke, you know. Lewandowski and Neymar have been in every single one of those finals. Every single one since 2015. The same team. Hardly any differences. Casemiro has been there from the jump. Eriksen's been in 2 of them. This ain't no joke, man. This is consistency. We're about to change our team now because there's a changing of the guard. So a few people will leave, but We're just happy to be part of it, man. So enjoy. That was the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.